Well, Pakistan's best friend China definitely cannot. Beijing too is currently trapped in its own mess, a mess created by the deadly combination of dictatorship, bogus vaccines and zero COVID. Let me explain. One of China's closest friends has now declared that Chinese vaccines are good for nothing. Surely not in as many words, but as politely and diplomatically as possible. I'm talking about the European Union. It has exposed China by offering it free vaccines. This is as insulting as it gets for China. The dragon was supposed to be the one donating vaccines, being charitable, abusing vaccine diplomacy. But 3 years into the pandemic, the world has now become wiser. We've all realized that Chinese vaccines do not work. It doesn't matter whether the jabs are bought or donated, they simply don't work. They're bogus. Shanghai is living proof. Like we told you yesterday, 70% of Shanghai's population is reportedly infected. Why? Because the Chinese vaccines, which the city's residents were inoculated with, failed to keep the Wuhan virus at bay. So now Shanghai is infected, and so is the rest of China. And Chinese travelers are threatening to reinfect the rest of the world too. The European Union, China's trade partner, decided it may be time to call China's bluff and offer to donate vaccines.
With the COVID situation in China, Commissioner Kyriakides has reached out to her Chinese counterparts to offer the EU's solidarity and support, and this includes public health expertise as well as through variant-adapted EU vaccine donations.
Germany has already shipped 11,500 vaccines to China so that at least the German nationals working and living in China can be saved from the lie. This donation offer has been too hard for China to digest. How do you think China responded to this charity? With false claims backed by unsubstantiated numbers. Listen in.
China has continuously improved its vaccination rate, enhanced its treatment capacity, expanded its production capacity of medical resources with sufficient supplies. The world's largest COVID-19 vaccination production line has been built with an annual production capacity of more than 7 billion doses, and the total production capacity has exceeded 5.5 billion doses.
The spokesperson went on to lie that China's pandemic prevention is on point and that China is cooperating with other countries to protect people's lives and health. The truth is anything but that. China is actually threatening countries which are trying to protect their people from reinfection or from coming in contact with the new variant of the Wuhan virus. Countries worldwide have rightfully announced special rules for travelers from China. This includes furnishing a negative RT-PCR test result, cooperating with random testing and agreeing to quarantine if the result is positive. These are not big demands. One such traveler has fled a quarantine facility in South Korea. The Chinese passenger landed in Seoul. He was tested for the Wuhan virus and the result came out positive. So South Korea authorities took him to a nearby hotel so that he could be admitted to a quarantine facility. But guess what? This person fled. South Korea has now placed this Chinese national on a wanted list. He faces a hefty fine and a prison sentence. China has no apology to give for rogue Chinese passengers. Instead, it is threatening the world. China has warned that if countries impose special travel rules for Chinese passengers, Beijing will hit back with countermeasures. Imagine this. First, China exports a virus. The world somehow manages to control its spread after 3 years of a battle and millions of deaths. And now, China is trying to infect the world once again, while threatening countries against shielding themselves from the Wuhan virus. I want to ask you all, from where does China get such audacity? China has said, and I quote, "We are firmly opposed to attempts to manipulate the COVID measures for political purposes and will take countermeasures based on the principle of reciprocity." Well, the only thing political here is China's cover-up of the outbreak. This one and the one in Wuhan that have now exacerbated into a pandemic. If Chinese dictator Xi Jinping would have kept his pride aside and asked the world for help, we could have been saved from this pandemic, from the millions of deaths that followed. But China clearly has not learnt its lesson. 3 years into the Wuhan virus pandemic, China is still trying to fool the world with bogus vaccines. It is delivering sermons instead of trying to control the virus at home. Look at what Shanghai looks like right now. Hospitals are filled to the brim. So are funeral homes, crematoriums. People of China are dying because of China's own faulty policies and pandemic politics. And what is China doing? Blaming everyone and everything except itself.
If the US had not politicized the pandemic at the very onset, but responded responsibly with an attitude of putting life first, like what the Chinese government did, I'm afraid that the COVID-19 situation, both within the US and worldwide, would have developed as it has today. We sincerely hope that all parties will focus on fighting COVID-19 itself, avoid politicization on the virus issue, strengthen solidarity, and work together to prevail over COVID-19 as soon as possible.
You know what they say? Walk the talk. That holds true for China, especially currently. WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.